Hello, welcome. I'm so pleased to see so many people and understand that so many people are participating online as well for this momentous event. Thank you for joining us at the launch of the African Stars Fellowship. We are very excited to have you here today as we share more about this initiative that was sparked by the vision and strong partnerships between the MasterCard Foundation, the Center for Epidemic Response and Innovation at Stellenbosch University, and the Institut Pasteur de Dakar. Today, together, we are embarking on a journey to empower Africa's next generations of health leaders and innovators. So today, here in this room and online, we're here to celebrate the bright future for science, health, and innovation in Africa. Isn't that exciting? I'm excited. We should all be excited. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Professor Lenin Liebenberg, Chief Researcher at CERI at Stellenbosch University. I'm also a long-standing advocate for holistic professional development with practical applications in health sciences. So it's truly an honor for me today to be hosting this very exciting event. Clearly very exciting. So within the next 2 hours, you will hear from many expert speakers. You'll hear some engaging discussion. And most importantly, you'll be witnessing and being part of the launch of this transformative event, this transformative program. Thank you for being here. So I'd like to begin by inviting our very first speaker of the program, Professor Wim de Villiers. He's the rector of Stellenbosch University, and he'll be here to tell us a little bit more about this exceptional institution, this leading university that is driving both, innovation and collaboration across Africa. So a warm welcome to you, Prof. de Villiers. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Lenny. Can you all hear me? Can everybody online hear me? Okay, right. So it's fantastic to be here this afternoon. So I'm Wim de Villiers. I'm the Rector and Vice Chancellor. It's the first week back from summer break. So what a better opportunity and occasion to come back to. That's really fantastic. So I am the Vice Chancellor, but I'm also a specialist physician and a gastroenterologist. All right. So, and in addition to that, I have a PhD in chronic inflammation and with an unhealthy interest in macrophage biology. So I'm of that small group of people who believe that macrophages are at the center of the universe. And I'm very pleased that this initiative also supports that notion. So it is really a great pleasure to welcome you all to Stellenbosch University's Tygerberg campus and the Center for Epidemic Response and Innovation. We are honored to host today's occasion, which is the launch of the African Stars Fellowship Program, and what an initiative. So I want to acknowledge some esteemed guests with us today, Dr. Claudina Loots from the Department of Science and Innovation, Dr. Constantia Mavotsa, the country's senior representative of the MasterCard Foundation, Dr. Solomon Zaudu. Is that correct? The senior executive resident at the MasterCard Foundation, Professor Amadou Sall, CEO of the Institut Pasteur de Dakar, and all our distinguished speakers, panelists, and partners. And thank you so much for being here to share in this visionary initiative. And this is what it is. It's truly visionary. And it really ties in and aligns so perfectly with what we are trying to do here at Stellenbosch University, where we're committed to fostering knowledge, innovation, and collaboration, but not only for South Africa as a national asset, but also for the African continent as a whole. So under the leadership of Professor Tulio de Oliveira, CERI really stands as a testament and is perfectly aligned with our vision. It's a testament to this commitment. It has become a hub for genomic research and innovation, and it contributes significantly to how we respond to global health challenges and also the response to epidemics. And today we celebrate the launch of the African STARS Fellowship Program, it's transformative, a transformative initiative designed to develop the next generation of African scientific leaders. And with the support of a very significant $9 million grant from the Mastercard Foundation, the program will fund over 100 fellows who will spend 6 months to 2 years at Stellenbosch University. We're very pleased to be able to do that. And what I'm especially pleased at is that this initiative is truly multidisciplinary and collaborative. It involves key stakeholders at Stellenbosch University, including our business school, our international office, Innovus and Launch Lab. It's also supported by valued partners such as the South African government, the Institut Pasteur de Dakar, Oxford University, and multiple industry leaders, both locally and internationally. The program aims to bridge the gap between science and industry by equipping fellows with the skills to address Africa's pressing health challenges whilst fostering biotechnology innovation and job creation. Structured training programs, industry placements, and collaborations with organizations like Thermo Fisher Scientific and Aprigen ensure that fellows are prepared to lead in their fields. So it's truly multidisciplinary, it's collaborative, it bridges the gap between industry and academia. And a core focus of the program is inclusivity, ensuring that 60% of fellows are young women and fostering collaboration between Anglophone and Francophone regions of Africa. And this approach embodies the unity and the shared vision necessary for sustainable and equitable development. So I think it's fair to say that this program is, and I don't want to overstate it, but it's an unparalleled opportunity to shape the future of African science and healthcare. And it does that by developing leaders, fostering innovations, and strengthening industry partnerships, and in that way, really paving the way for a self-sufficient and resilient Africa. I also need to say, as a Vice-Chancellor that's very soon to come to the end of my second term, I have already requested the application forms to apply for this program. So thank you very much to our partners, collaborators, and everyone who has contributed to this visionary and very, very exciting initiative. And this is an initiative that can only but inspire young people and people in South Africa and on our continent. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. de Villiers. I love those words, right? Unparalleled, transformative, visionary. Thank you. And now we move on to our next speaker, Godina Lewis, giving our keynote address today. You'll be hearing lots more about the importance of collaboration and training in Africa. We look forward to that. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your insights, Lewis.
Well, welcome to our friends from across Africa, our South African colleagues, and the funders. Thank you. First of all, I'm not doctor, I'm not professor, I'm Miss. I'm a lost social scientists, lost in the world of biomedical research, but I love it. But as you know, social scientists can see patterns, can see how things actually structurally should go together. And that's why it's making it so much fun. I don't need to concentrate on just one microphage. And Prof, can we please talk about it? I'm busy with a program on that as well. Everybody talks about COVID and how bad COVID was. Yes, but COVID has also showed us our strengths. Thanks to Leo. You've got us banned from the world travel twice. But through that, we could show the world we actually know what we're doing. Africa is there. Listen to Africa. And to me, one of the wonderful things, and Amadou is part of that, is what's happening, is how Africa collectively are actually getting together and we are doing it. And tough. So one of the things that we are, for example, on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of 6th February this year, there's a meeting in Cairo where African countries get together to start looking at how do we build local manufacturing of not only vaccines, but your other pharmaceuticals and diagnostics and medical devices across Africa. For that, you need to build that network. But in order to get to vaccines, we need the work that Tulio and the young stars will do to understand what are the pathogens what we are dealing with, and to understand why the crisis in Europe or the crisis in America is not necessarily a crisis in Africa. Thank you for that information for the last 2 weeks. For everybody reacts to what is happening in the rest of the world, but let's look inside what we can do. What do we know? How we are dealing with it? Because we as Africans has got a unique way, any way of dealing with things. So let's build on those strengths. So on top of what, where I first met Amadou is when we start put together the mRNA hub, training hub. And we were promised we will get a tech transfer from an American company. We're still waiting. But what did we do as Africans? We did it ourselves. With the network that Tulio was part of, that Stellenbosch University, Wits University, UCT, plus private companies got together and we developed our own mRNA vaccines that then tech transferred across Africa. And this is how we build that network, because we can. And this is what I'm saying, can we just, to me, this is so wonderful what you're doing. We're building on top of that. So you have, one of the things that we also created as a result of COVID was the Institute for Pandemic Preparedness and Prevention, IP3. It started out in South Africa, but I'm trusting in Tulio to do that across Africa for us. I think he's already busy doing that. But again, we start looking at what do we need? So, for example, on the Institute for Pandemic Preparedness and Prevention, IPQ, yeah, we are not only looking at the pathogens, understanding the pathogens, but how do you then take those pathogens and what is needed and the antibodies or whatever is needed in order to make vaccines, to make diagnostics, and then to do the manufacturing as well. So that whole process is why we brought then universities together on how to do it. And thank you for your inputs. For that it's again another network, but we need the young minds that is needed for that network. And this is where this fellowship is so much important. But while we've got these young minds, one of the problems is we need to find places for them to eventually you're going to get rid of them from a university side. But where do we take them? So at the same time, while we look at the academic programs, we also need what are the industry programs that we can put together. And this is where we start looking at things like Afrigen on the vaccine side, like Cape Biosciences on the diagnostic side, and build those kind of businesses across Africa. And it's not only for us, it's what is needed across Africa. So what we've done now, to me, it's so lovely. We've got Tulio's fellowships that starts at the basic sciences or the understanding at the universities. Then we've got Johan Low, he's here somewhere, there he is. The partnership with Thermo Fisher that actually starts then going into the more research environment outside of academic, where we're building also the capacity then on how do you do on a day-to-day basis this kind of research that's needed. And there's again another little network that starts off in South Africa and it will be spread across Africa. And then the final group that we're busy putting together is the biosciences workforce training program that is situated by the CSIR, but again, it is the Medical Research Council, BioVac, Afrigen, little companies that are playing in the field, that we also training the scientists that came out of these programs to how to actually then physically, how do you work under GMP, good manufacturing practice environment? How do you actually apply your knowledge then within the field? So this network is sort of being worked together. The missing bits was what Tulio is now doing, is the front bit that we were actually missing. And for that, I just want to say thank you. And thank you for this opportunity that we can start seeing how this whole puzzle is busy falling. And it's not only for us, it's for Africa. And this is to me really, thank you, Tulio. Thank you for your efforts. And I want to thank you. And we still, he's leaving IPD. I'm very sorry about that. But I'm looking forward on what his new role will be. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Claudina Lewitz. We'll call you Professor. And what we heard from Claudina was she really did underscore the importance of partnerships between the universities, between research institutions, between industry. I mean, that's how we're going to make a program like this work. Yeah. So to add to that voice, add to those pleasure to call on our next speaker today, Dr. Constantia Mabotsa from the MasterCard Foundation. She's the program lead for health initiatives at the MasterCard Foundation, and she will share the vision for capacity development and the MasterCard's funding philosophy with us over the next couple of minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I have avoided being in front of everyone for as long as I've been doing my job at the MasterCard Foundation. So you guys are literally the first ones to get me to be on stage here. But as introduced, I'm Constancia Mabotsa, and I am with the MasterCard Foundation, and I will be your primary support on this program. And I'll just give a little bit of history on the MasterCard Foundation itself and how we've ended up in the health space. And we've been in the education space for quite a while. So the MasterCard Foundation, we're a Canadian charity that began in 2006. We primarily had an office in Canada, and then we've moved to an additional 7 country offices here on the African continent. Young people are our main constituents. We care about them. And we have 2 charitable purposes, which is advancing education and poverty alleviation. So you will see that a lot of our programs have really been in that kind of capacity development space and are focused, our scholars program has kind of been our anchor program and it's been focused on that. And then we've been expanding over time to have innovative partnerships that still kind of meet our 2 charitable purposes. We have a very huge goal, right? And our goal is to have 30 million young people in dignified and fulfilling work by 2030. Yeah. And our program is going to be contributing to that impact goal. Now, when it comes to health, we're infants in the health space. Yeah, we started operating in health and kind of funding and investment in it as a response to COVID-19. So we have our Saving Lives and Livelihoods initiative, and I will tell you about it because that's how we ended up with this program, which is our contribution of $1.5 billion that started out as our response to COVID-19, and then we've repurposed it a little bit. And now we're focusing a lot on pandemic preparedness, health system strengthening, as well as, again, capacity development of healthcare workers to ensure that the African continent, in the case of another crisis, is going to be better prepared than we were when COVID-19 happened. So in the lead up to repurposing our Saving Lives and Livelihoods, we were reading proposals from our partners, and we came across the concept note for what is now the Africa Stars Fellowship Program. And I remember our team were like, this needs to stand as its own program, right? Because what we were provided with was the idea that we can train young people brilliantly as brilliant scientists. But beyond just the kind of academic scientific rigor, we're going to layer on the business of health sciences, right? We're going to layer on transformative leadership capacities for these young people. And we're going to end up with young people who are leaders in science, who have an entrepreneurial mindset. So not only are they going to be good scientists, but they're also going to be creating jobs and opportunities for young people. And one of the things that we've realized in the foundation is we can't do this work without our partners. We had our first meeting as the foundation on Monday. And our CPOs say that this year what we have, we're calling it partner centrality. This is the recognition that for us to get to our 30 million young people, we can't do it without the partners. So to CERI and to Stellenbosch, it is our honor to work with you. It is our joy to walk beside you as we start to implement this program. And I'm really, really excited. Like my team, when I read this proposal, I was like, I will bet my professional career on the success of this program. So thank you very much, and we're so glad to be here.
We're so glad you're here as well. Over to the core of today's event, and you'll be hearing from the director of CERI, Center for Epidemic Response and Innovation at Stellenbosch University, and also Prof. Amadou Sall, the CEO of the Institut Pasteur de Dakar. I don't say it as well as Prof. Vim. Oh, you do. I will learn, I'm learning. Thank you very much for bringing an overview of the African Stars Fellowship Program for us today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so my name is Tulio de Oliveira, and I'm the director of CERI, and I have the CEO of the Institut Pasteur in Dakar. And then what we decided to do, it is a short presentation as a duetto. Yeah. I cannot sing, so I didn't invite you to sing, but we can do very good science, and we can really try to motivate you about how our institutes come together to launch that program. Is that fair, Amadou?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really important.
Yeah. So how we're going to do, I'm going to start a little bit the presentation, and then I'm going to pass the ball to Professor Amadou Sall that will continue and explain about the Institut Pasteur de Dakar and some of the fellowship. And then I will finish that, and we hope that you're going to vote us and give us a Grammy for the best duetto in the history. Yeah. But we thought that was very important that we do that together, because that's the power. When institutes come together and the collaboration, that's what we are trying to do in the Star Fellowship, to use both of our institutes together with initially with the MasterCard Foundation, but welcome other funders. So I can see Elma Philanthropies. You can also become part of the program. We are here to discuss on how we can work together to really glue a lot of the African continent. Yeah. So before I start, I will start a few vision. Let me give it to Amadou to give his first remarks. Amadou.
Thank you very much, Tulio. My name is Dr. Amadou Sall. I am the CEO of Institut Pasteur in Dakar. As Tulio was saying, we are extremely proud, and I'm really, really happy. And then want to thank Tulio and all the team for hosting us today to launch this. This has been done on a very, very short notice basis, but we think this is critically important. The fellowship should be seen as a huge platform on which we're betting for the future of Africa when it comes to tackling the challenge in health that we have. So I will let Tulio start with the vision, and then I will go for the next. Please.
Thank you. So we start our duet. So what's the vision? Yeah, our vision is to unlock Africa's potential by equipping young Africans with advanced skills, not only in science, but also entrepreneurial expertises to advance health innovations. So here we are talking about going from basic science to entrepreneur and innovation to try to fill the chain about creating the results that can have a big difference in Africa. Yeah. Why do we want to do that? Yeah. So as Africa has the fastest growing young population in the world. Yeah. Current young Africans still have very limited formal employment opportunities. And then that's why we joined with the MasterCard Foundation with one of the big objectives to put 30 million young Africans in employment. Yeah. But in the same way, we have not only to generate employment, but we have to deal with the challenges that we have in the continent. With a lot of them, one of the big challenges that have been identified is that we do not have sufficient high-level scientists, and sometimes we cannot, after we train them, we already don't have enough, we cannot attract or retain the scientists and innovators in Africa. And you know that the richest man in the world, one of the biggest innovators, where he come from? South Africa. But is he here? No? And that's what we have to create. We have to create the ecosystem to train, attract, and retain them. But one thing that people is not aware, but people start to become aware during the pandemic, is that we have big experience in investment in science and technology, yeah, and that we have access to some of the best labs in the world. And I think that you can see here in the BMRI. So just to finish, before I give it to my partner in crime here, just to introduce about the CERI, the Center for Epidemic Response and Innovation. CERI was a very ambitious program that we put together with Stellenbosch University to track, record, and respond to the disease outbreaks, not only in South Africa, but in Africa and the world. Yeah. And we did. In 3 years, we respond to multiple ones. Yeah. We became quite famous for COVID, but the ones that you don't know, our work on HIV or TB, we are just running together with researchers Stellenbosch, the biggest TB trial on the new drug, that bedaquiline, 50 years since they developing a new drug. And if you don't protect this drug, bedaquiline, we're gonna have a big problem. The big trial is happening here, funded by the EDCTP, around $8 million on that. Yeah, we have a big work with the virology department on hepatitis B and C. We work a lot with climate amplified diseases such as chikungunya, dengue, Zika, yellow fever. You may not know, but was us, our work that create the name Mpox, and that identified the clades that in the end up making the response international and Africa that allowed the vaccines to come and other pathogens of epidemic potential. Yeah. And we showed that by when competing the world by identifying 2 of the main variables. But what we decided to do, and that's together with multiple partners with the Pasteur Institute, one of our big ones, is that we cannot do that only for ourselves. It's our moral imperative that we build for the African continent. So we have trained over 1,000 young people since 2021 and hosted over 600 fellows that came physically here from 48 countries through the Genomics Africa Fellowship. They were short-term fellowship to provide advancing. And this is the next step, the African Star Fellowship. And when we discuss with the MasterCard Foundation, what became quite clear, that we have the perfect partner. They have a small problem. They speak French, but it is one of the visions is to build that bridge between the Anglophone and Francophone. And then we could not be luckier than to partner with the Institute Pasteur Dakar in this program. Amadou, yeah, we just changed here. Yeah.
Thank you. One of the most important things about this program, and why we call it STARS also, is that we want to be the launch pad for Africans to shoot for the moon. So even if they miss, they become stars. And that's what IPD is going to do. For some of you not familiar with IPD, I'm just going quickly to tell you what we're trying really to do since we get started is really to accelerate access to health, but access that is really equitable, that is sustainable, and that is affordable. And for that, what we have been working over years, we've trained thousands of researchers and students throughout Africa, but really with the philosophy of thinking from the community perspective. We want to go and be in the community to be really the first detector and first responders. So that's why we provide them with services. That's why we're doing cutting edge biomedical research to make sure we understand what are the disease, how they are transmitted, how we can protect them. And out of that, we want to also provide this product, whether it's diagnostics, which is the first line how people get to the health system, but also vaccines, so we can have a long-term sort of protections. Not only we're doing that, but the basis and the foundation of that is to have the right people. We believe in human capital, and that's why actually at the center of all we do, workforce development is critical. That's why we're so happy to ask MasterCard Foundation to have that vision about workforce, human capital in Africa. And that's why we're so happy that not only we're working together to train Africans to make vaccines, but we are going to work together specifically for this program. The last piece that is very important, we are threatened every single year in Africa by epidemics. 120 epidemics every year are hitting Africa, hitting the health, hitting the economy, impacting the human being in what they have the most precious, which is their health. And you cannot understand a really problem of Africa and development until you start looking at health. So dealing with health and making sure that we can fix the problem and the health challenge is getting us an opportunity to amplify an effect of the development in any area of our society. The important thing is, as we're doing it right now here, we work together as partners in a network. And Institut Pasteur in Dakar belongs to a network which is in 26 countries, but where in Africa we have 10 different institutes in the North, West, Central, and in East Africa. Now, one important thing is while we're doing that, we're trying actually to get cutting edge. We are today the only WHO pre-qualified vaccine manufacturer in all Africa. We need vaccine. Africa actually consumes 25% of the vaccine in the world. Still, we are making less than 1%. So this is critical that we have our scientists and people to move from making good research to make product, whether it's diagnostic or vaccine. We are making only 5% of the diagnostics that we use. Everything is imported. As Tulio was mentioning, having scientists with entrepreneurial mindset would change the whole thing. And why and how we get that? This is a long-term history. We just celebrate 100 years. What you would see here is always started with us with a question that comes from the community. So in 1927, we failed for the first time in the world isolate the yellow fever virus. And in the Pasteurian mind, when you get the pathogen, you need to go to a vaccine and a solution. That's how 10 years through a large corporation in Africa, in the US, we come with the first vaccine in 1937. That was the yellow fever vaccine. That's the world's best vaccines. You get one shot, you're protected for life. So this has been invented more than 80 years ago. So meaning that know-how is there, capacity is there. We just need to make sure that this tradition on which we root our know-how is coming up to now. So that's what we did over the next years. We got pre-qualified by WHO in 1966. And since then, we've been trying actually to bring innovation. A couple of innovation we brought here, like diagnostics manufacturing. We are the first group in Africa that bring rapid diagnostic tests in COVID. First time we did it in manufacturing right here in Africa. And we got a prize, the Galleon Prize for that. Same, we launched together, as they were mentioning here, the Madiba project, because we want to do with Africa CDC, all the partners like MasterCard Foundation, make sure that Africa move from 1% now, in 2040, we would have 60% of our vaccine made here. Madiba is about that. And obviously with Madiba, this is a sort of tribute to Nelson Mandela. Even though the acronym means Manufacturing in Africa for Disease Immunization and Building Autonomy. But when I visited Cape Town some years ago, I was amazed because I was talking to one of the guards, and he was telling me this poem that Mandela loves about being the master of our destiny and the captain of our soul. That's why during this COVID, we called this project Madiba because of that. So in this area, even though I was visiting Biovac, they called the project Kilimanjaro. I said, how come? We call ours Madiba. Why do you call it Kilimanjaro? Anyway, this is just the sort of innovation on which we're trying to build now. And we have also, obviously, not only building the capacity to manufacture, but we do the R&D, which is important, and we do the training components. And I'm extremely proud that a few weeks ago, we have an amazing presentation from Tulio for this anniversary, and also the presence of Richard about the innovation. Just IPD, I'm going to be talking these 5 flagship projects, which are important. The first one is CARE. CARE stands for Center for Africa Resilience to Epidemics. It's about human capital development, biomanufacturing training, and exactly this program, this STAR program, going to be hosted actually by CARE. And we have the privilege to have here the director for CARE, which is Aishan Jai with us. The second major initiative is JETROPICS. We started during COVID with COVID actually diagnostic tests, rapid tests. And today we're moving to HIV, yellow fever, measles, rubella, and we expand the capacity to have actually 75 million to be able actually to provide Africa with a test they need. Very focused. Madiba, I talked about it. The VAX is a Dakar Vaccine Accelerator, which is more the R&D, working here with Afrigen as part of the hub, working here to make sure now we're going to be designing our vaccine using AI. We're going to be collaborating on generating all those sequences, and make sure through cell culture technology innovation, we will be able actually to now produce our own vaccine. Our flagship project on messenger RNA is Rift Valley fever. We have 2 projects on Rift Valley fever. One of them is done in collaboration with Afrigen, meaning that we're going to, through collaboration, build those opportunity actually to help Africa tackling one of the diseases which is the most important, not only in South Africa, but also in West Africa, which is Rift Valley fever. That was one of the very important things that we do. And the last flagship program is CEDAR. CEDAR is more like a vehicle by which we do partnership, including financial partnership. Now, this is just a few pictures. I just wanted to show you this about the diversity. You would see here a picture of the site where we do Madiba, which is the vaccine manufacturing. But one important thing is in IPD, what you want to do is going from the field with mobile lab like that, getting the sample and channel it to all the process up to the point it become a product at some point. That's why you can see manufacturing opportunities, the vaccine manufacturing, the sort of product that we do, the HIV one, and the training that we offer. Very important, we have the support of our government. We have the privilege of being actually visited recently by our president, new president, very young. Also, we're betting on him. I think like you, we're going to ask him to also apply for these STAR things. And also our Ministry of Health. So, now, the program that we're trying to build through this partnership, one of the first program is what we call advanced and translational training. When we start brainstorming about what to do with Tulio, with Solomon, with Richard, we thought that it's very important that people have theoretical training and also be in a possibility to have hands-on. And this 4 to 6 months program where we give them advanced and translational training is going to be focusing really on understanding genomics in very details, but applying it to design of diagnostics as well as design of manufacturing and for vaccines. So it is really having an end-to-end reflection about if you have this amazing information, what do you do with it in terms of translating it into a product that can solve an African challenge. We're targeting young professionals and giving them this cutting-edge know-how. And for this period, we're going to have 60 fellows for these advanced and translational training. And we are opening this quarter, and this would go through to 2026 and 27. The second program is what we call a young professional program. The whole idea here is just to make sure that we have a group of people that we're going to be mentoring and giving training for a year by having 2 6-week training on different area where they need capacity, research management, innovation, some technology acquirement, how to do vaccines and how to do some innovation. And then after that, giving them an opportunity of a 1 year to do a much longer project, which is going to help them to go deep dive into that project and have this program. The reflection we have on the first or second one is to link also this sort of program with some sort of funding that we create, like Grand Challenge funding, where you can have some amount of money up to 100,000 and make sure that if you have a good idea, you can take this idea to a prototype and get the training, including entrepreneurship, and get an opportunity to come here at the Launch Lab. Think about regions like we did yesterday, is how we can be autonomous in that and build company out of that. It's going to be a huge opportunity, not only to learn, but also to network and have our young African to move from South Africa to Senegal or other place, because this is just the start of the network. But not only Tulio, but ourselves are connected to different countries in Africa, in the world, to help those people. This is going to be an opportunity for 40 people. And we also are going to be opening in Q1 2025, and this would go on 25 and 26. And with that, I would leave it to my second colleagues for the duet. Please, Tulio.
Thank you. Thank you, Amadou. Now we know that we got the right partner, no? Yeah. So Amadou, so in total, the program has 4 fellowships. So Amadou present the first 2, the ATT and the YPP, and they will present the next 2. What we thought, and that's honestly, that was discussions that, you know, sometimes we need discussions out of the box. And that was discussion with Dr. Solomon Zwedo about the need to also build people with proper degrees of masters and business administration. So that would be people that would be able to have the proper training to run big research institutes or run companies, or be promoted to run a big area in a different company. So from that, what we decided, we liked that idea. We engaged with the Stellenbosch Business School on that. They already have an MBA in healthcare leadership. And what we're doing is to put that program as part of the African Fellowship. We're going to be funding initially 14 MBA fellows, and then we're going to give them the projects. And the projects will be on challenges for Africa. So for example, as Claudina highlighted, how can we move one of the projects? How can we move in the chain of innovation from and other one will be like, what's the landscape of vaccine development in Africa? How can you bring the private healthcare clinics, very advanced in South Africa and multiple countries, to work on research? How can you then mentor a small company to think about growing production? So that's what we're going to be doing. Very strong partnership with the Stellenbosch Business School. This program, the advert will come out in the Q3 around August, September this year. And then we're going to have the first fellows start in January of next year. It's a 2 years program, fully funded by the Africa Partnership, in collaboration not only with the business school, the IPD, but with multiple companies that will also host some of the project of that. Very important to grow the next generation to have the business and administration. A 4th program that we did that, it took us around 3 years to get approved this program. It is the first coursework master programs for bioinformatics of infectious disease. So that's a program. It's very uncommon in Africa to have master taught programs. Yeah, we do a lot of masters as part of research. This is a program that's going to be very intensive, 9 months lecture block, including advanced statistics, bioinformatics, then moving into modules of either infectious disease or pathogen genomics, and that will incorporate also career development activities to the aim to produce graduates that now are very well trained to move from basic data to analysis to then start feeding that information to develop of entrepreneurship and innovation. So this program will start officially in Stellenbosch in 2026. Yeah, I have many members from the Center for Bioinformatics and Computational Biology here that we're going to work together for that. And as part of this program, we're going to fund 7 MSA fellows. Yeah. And we have another program with the EDCTP that will fund another 5 or 7. So what we are doing is engage with funders to have structured programs. When we present last week, we had a debriefing with the Africa CDC. Both the MBA and the master degrees were the ones that they were really excited. We are also excited about the ATT and the IPP because the innovation, but they say that's what we need in Africa. We need proper university degrees that graduate people so they can really advance on that. Yeah. And why we have these numbers, 7 fellows in this program, 40 and 60 is related to funding. So if the MasterCard double funding today, not Constantia, you may be very excited. We double the numbers. Yeah. If the Elma Foundation or another funder want to contribute, and that's what we are creating, is this program that we can engage with funders that then to grow the number of individuals. Yeah. And the last one is the exchange fellowship, what we did from many of these fellows. Yeah, what we are also offering when they complete is to spend a good time in some of the top universities in the world or companies. At the moment, we have some hosts, for example, Oxford University, where Vin de Villas, Amadou, and I went for many years. Yeah, so I think that's not a terrible university, not. And that's a very good university. We have multiple partners, so the fellows can spend multiple months there. We have grown a very excited collaboration with University of Wisconsin-Madison, which many of you may not know, but they have one of the biggest biotech innovation parks in the world, and that also with other collaborators. So that's when we give the fellows the opportunity to engage with top people in the world, companies, universities that have done that on that. I can see Solomon, maybe we should put another 0 here, but that is just my thing. So to conclude, because that's what we want to conclude, yeah. So we are very excited about the Africa Star Fellowship Program. Yeah, it is to be delivered at CERI and IPD. Our ambition is to add also other top organizations, one in second phase in North Africa and East Africa. So we start growing the network, yeah. But we will really provide opportunities to enhance African expertise in genomics, but also moving to that because genomics is the basic of development of diagnostics, of vaccines and therapeutics, of pharmaceuticals, yeah, to how to design and manufacture to respond to our own epidemics. Yeah. One of the big objectives should be a holistic training that they get learning not only about the science, but financial management, grants management, about business, innovation. We are very excited to have Anita New is going to be joining one of the panels here to talk about the role of innovation and very strong ecosystem of Innovos and Launch Lab on how they can not only get employment, but be an amplifier of employment. Success for us would be if our fellows not only get high-level employment, but they start attracting big grants to generate thousands of employment, so that they create new companies that then generate also more employment. So we want to be an amplification site, yeah. And then just to finish with our vision again, but I will ask Amadou to read our vision for the last time, then we finish. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Tulio. So as we said, the vision is really to unlock Africa potential by equipping young Africans with advanced skills and entrepreneurial expertise to advance health innovation. So one very important point, which is not in the slides, we want to give them also amazing mentors. I cannot finish our speech without thanking personally Solomon Zewdu, who has been really at the very beginning of this program by visiting here, by coming to me, say, I have this amazing group in South Africa. So Solomon, as you are transitioning to a new position, I want to officially say that this may be one of the major things of your legacy of what you've done in Africa, helping these young people, being one of their inspiration and mentor, having people amazing in style like Tulio to teach them on a daily basis is something that is the most important thing that probably MasterCard's foundation has done, and that the people now will also take over. So I want to express personally my deepest gratitude for getting us involved and putting all this together. Thank you very much.
And I agree with every single word of Amadou. Thank you, Solomon, and thank you very much for being present in our summary of the program. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Richard. Richard has been a key player on this.
Thank you very much. You've heard right now our two directors, the importance, excuse me, the importance of this sort of program, this sort of empowerment of future leaders in health and innovation in Africa. They've detailed for you various parts of this program, aspects of the program, lots of acronyms to remember, ATT, YPP, MBA, MBID, and an exchange program. Very excited, clearly. And you'll have an opportunity to ask more questions about it in our Q&A session a little bit later. But now I'd like to move us over to our panel discussion. And our panelists, please move over onto the stage. The panel discussion will be regarding aspects about advancing research and innovation in Africa. It will be facilitated by our very own Professor Sibusiso Moyo, the DVC for Research, Innovation and Postgraduate in Stellenbosch University. I'll hand this over to you and I'll introduce the rest of the panelists.
Okay. I don't know. So can people hear us from? Okay. I sit here or there?
Yes. And I'd like to introduce the rest of our very esteemed panelists today. We have Dr. Richard Gordon, the Director for International Business Development at the SAMRC. Dr. Solomon Seriu, the CEO of A&D Fund and former Senior Executive President of the MasterCard Foundation. Dr. Xavier Javier the Director for Research, Education and Innovation at IPD, and Anita Nell, the Chief Director for Innovation and Commercialization at Innovis. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And just quickly reintroduce myself. As Sibusiso Moyo, the DVC for Research. I'm a mathematician by background, and like our Vice Chancellor, so at least we support him well with his ideas as well. And yeah, so it gives me pleasure to really facilitate this session. I just want, of course, to start off by really thanking again the Center for Epidemic Response and Innovation, Professor Tulio de Oliveira, and the team of over 100 researchers that are part of that team as well. And then, of course, the Institute Pasteur de Dakar, also for the work that you are doing and also for partnering with us on this program. And of course, we shouldn't forget the MasterCard Foundation. And thank you again, for the work that you're doing and the support that you give us in Africa. So again, just to remind us, of course, this program, of course, has been designed with the core aim of nurturing the continent's new researchers in healthcare, research leaders, and also, to enable us to create a skilled workforce in genomics, diagnostics, and vaccine design and production in Africa. So we know that Africa currently has the highest number of youth, and in fact, it's projected to have at least 50% of this youth make up the world population by 2100. I think by then most of us will still be there, I hope. In person. And so the question that we want to ask, I think, as a panel is really to try and understand the theme of what we're discussing now, having heard the different presentations that have been made, and asking ourselves, why is it important to advance research and innovation in Africa? Why is that important, and why now? We know that Africa, of course, faces unique challenges in terms of health and also dealing just with the impacts of climate change. For example, food insecurity, sustainable and renewable energy issues, which are related to inequality and, not everybody having the same access to these resources, and then also infrastructure gaps. And as you go across the continent, you can see that at large as well. So we know that, of course, through research, we can actually help to find contextualized solutions that can be tailored to address these continental needs. So I want to start off by asking our panelists just to briefly introduce yourself briefly, and then if you can also talk about, the theme, just in 2 minutes, your viewpoint on the theme. So I'll start off with who wants to go first? I'll start off with you.
So thank you very much. Solomon Zodu, I guess the title's up there, so I don't have to repeat it. Everything has been said, so but I realized that this was a great opportunity to come and sit on this really comfortable couch and take plenty of pictures. So if I don't say anything intelligent at all, I'll pretend to look intelligent. So just forgive me on that one. So I mean, it's always great to be first. You can make all the bad mistakes and somebody else can correct you. So I also take that privilege to do. So advanced research and innovation, I think I'll stick to innovation, and I'll let the research piece to people that actually do know how to talk eloquently about research. I'll speak on behalf of the former role that I had, and thank you so much for the recognition. But it is really amazing in a sense that we've spent a lot of time and a lot of resources training, and we've been training and training and training with the understanding that perhaps if we increase the skills of the young scientists on the continent, they will get opportunities to get employed. That has not necessarily translated into job creation. And at some point, we need to really rethink the model and learn. I think it's Einstein that said that the day we die is the day we stop learning. So in that motto, the idea of putting together the STARS program with the research and innovation piece, with the small dial, which was very effectively articulated by everybody, including my colleague, Dr. Costanza here, is we need to take it to the next level. We need to really connect with pharma. We need to connect with industry. We need to connect all of these opportunities out there to really start creating that demand and really sourcing on the continent. Because what we are doing effectively right now is training for the world, and this is great. Young Africans are getting employment, but they're not getting employment in Africa, which is really putting the continent backwards and is not pushing it into that space where Africa can compete with the rest of the world, not just compete for the sake of competing, but actually can contribute to solving some of the solutions that we have on the continent or globally. So for us, that innovation piece is really rethinking the model, taking it to the next level, connecting all the players in that ecosystem, and appreciating this initiative as a ecosystem approach as opposed to just one solution that we hope will turn into opportunities.
Excellent. You can pass on the mic. And so maybe picking up on the innovation side, and then, of course, a quick introduction about yourself, and then your views on that as well.
Thank you, Professor Moyo. Pleasure to be here. For me, what is really thrilling in this program is 3 things. First of all, on this continent, we will have the biggest, largest, and most starving pharmaceutical market in the world in the next 100 years. So the things will be happening in Africa in terms of demand, in terms of innovation, in terms of deliveries, supply chain, etc. So things will happen on this continent. Second, you have this treasure. We have this treasure of youth. So the number of babies to be vaccinated, to be educated, to be employed is a record. And if we don't do this, we will have unrest. So we don't have choice. We have to do it. And in West Africa, we are surrounded, Senegal is surrounded by countries who are at unrest at the moment. And we are into the program building some trainings about how to use the power of science and healthcare to promote peace. So this is also something that is an added value of this program. And finally, we are here in Southern Africa, where we are seeing outstanding installations, fantastic way of dealing with research, teachings, and innovation. And most of Africa has not reached this level. So we need also from the Western Africa to bring surprise, to bring learnings, to bring, I would say, unexpected. And I think through the unexpected, working at the interface, there are plenty of novel and beneficial applications that will come along this program. Finally, since Professor Moyo is a mathematician, I would like to use one mathematical concept. It's the one of isomorphism. What is an isomorphism? Is a bridge between two different things, but they are built up the same way. So very famous mathematician said, making mathematics is giving the same name to different things. And I think this STAR program is trying to make an abstraction of what is innovation, what is just by grouping outstanding people, attracting the best, and also bringing adventure along the road. So this is my thrill.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for using the mathematical acronym, which is mainly, when you're talking about transformation and spaces, right? Where you find, similarities and the bridge that can take you from one place to another place. So I think that's a good acronym. Can we just also get from you, Anita, your input around, I think, having heard what has already been said, how you think, maybe a quick introduction again, and then a quick comment on you from how you think that, universities, what role they can actually play in driving innovation, and if there are any gaps that you see in the system.
I'm Anita Now. I'm the Chief Director for Innovation and Commercialization at Stellenbosch University, otherwise known as the Office of Weird Things. Yes, we do very non-research things, but we work very closely with the excellent researchers, and it's a privilege to help them bring their technologies and inventions to the market, because that's what innovation means. Innovation is not just about creativity and making new things. It is actually bringing it to the market and putting it in a place where it can have impact. So this is our privilege to work on that part of the university. And the research is amazing, but it doesn't help if it is not put in a place where it can actually make that impact. And so innovation is at the heart of what we do, and that is what actually makes the research relevant in the end. So if you consider that in Africa at this very moment, half of the population is younger than 20, then it places an enormous responsibility on research. To create opportunities. We have access to all the talent, but we, as Professor Saul also said, we keep importing things. So we have all the ability to do it here, but in Africa, unfortunately, the industry is not really advanced enough to take that very early stage technology coming from universities and working with the university to develop it and do the innovation, bringing it to the market. They also just want to import or create it themselves, fast track. So we tend to license many of our new technologies abroad. So the value of our technologies are created offshore, and then we import the result of that again. So through what we see now is to start new companies, to work with our researchers, to package their new technologies and get not support necessarily from industry in the beginning, but to get investment into our companies, those very startup early stage companies, develop the companies close to where the technology emanated on our campuses, utilize our students and turning them, well, we keep turning them into excellent researchers and excellent people who earn salaries, but let's change them into people who pay salaries with the technologies that we develop. And that is how we can develop industries in Africa and keep it here.
Come back to you, and then thank you so much for that. So Richard, I think with your expertise in innovation funding and research ecosystems in Africa, I would like you to maybe, apart from your introduction that we're still doing, is to talk a little bit about, innovative funding mechanisms that can be adopted to ensure sustainable support for such ideas. And also if you can give us an example which worked. This is a perfect example because first of all, we have a funder who's also willing to get other funders to support the idea, I think, which makes it sustainable. But it would be good to hear from you.
That's not the question I was expecting from Moya, so I'll have to think. So I'm Richard Gordon, so formerly the Executive Medical Research Council overseeing the grant funding, and I'm going to, I think it's Einstein who's attributed to this quote, but only a fool does the same thing over and over again and expects a different result. All right. Yeah. And I gave a presentation about a year ago and made myself very unpopular with a number of the government funders in the room when in the capacity that I was working with Amadou in capacity development in Africa, within 5 minutes, I put up 20 different training programs in vaccine manufacturing. No. And I was saying, I basically said to you guys are wasting your time because unless you link it to employment, you're not going to really go anywhere. There's the speaker feedback. Okay. So that's what I particularly like about this program is the link to, to move the dial on a lot of these things, you need to look at I love the analogy, the people who pay the salaries and not earn the salaries. And I think that's very much a key focus of this. Unless we link training to some kind of employment and some kind of innovation and some kind of new entity, new company, we're not going to really change anything on the African continent. And I've been involved in a few programs now when you talk of innovative financing models, where one of the key stats that people don't look at is the job multiplier effect. And realistically, the numbers across Africa, for every job you create in science, you create 20 other jobs, either in the supply chain, in the manufacturing, etc. And that is a metric that is not often spoken about well enough. So if we can create 100 of these posts, we will create 2,000 jobs. That's the kind of the idea of why invest in science and apart from the benefits you have. But I think coming back to your question, if I may, on innovative financing models, I mean, there's no magic bullet in the way and new ways to fund programs. But I do think that the world has changed now, where you apply for grants for a great idea, and it'll get funded. I think that kind of world is gone now. I think everyone is now looking for impact and the road to market. So in the African context of impact, it's not necessarily in the financial impact sense. It's in how do you model these things. It's life saves. When you go to the government entities, it's the DALIs, what they call the days of work from, for example, malaria. How much damage to your economy does malaria cause a year by people being off work? And then you factor in the financial impact of that, and you say this is why $10 million spent on this new drug or vaccine actually will save you $2 billion. So there's things like social impact bonds now becoming quite trendy, still to be proven to really work, but a whole lot of different programs in terms of with Gavi. I mean, this is the man to talk to about how the new models are going at the procurement level. But I do think pre and post COVID, it's a very different world in terms of financing. The day of applying for a grant to the Gates Foundation for a product to be sustained and it is practically gone, is what I think. And we're looking now more inwardly to Africa, where Africa stands up for itself, develops its own innovations and sustains its own industries. And I think that's really why we're all here.
Very much. Okay, just coming back to Solomon again with you, I just want to maybe pick up on the same idea, but from your perspective, right? How do we ensure long-term sustainability of research initiatives which are launched through this philanthropic funding, for example? What's the perspective from the funder side, from your side, when you look at Africa currently and opportunities for advancing research and innovation?
Sure. I didn't know this was improv, by the way, these questions. Brand new one, so this is great. Incidentally, I had a session with my new team where an improv coach came to give us this thing, and I'm trying to rethink those steps on how to think on the spot. But in all certainty, I think sustainability is something that ties in something that Amadou said in his presentation, and is also very vivid in the two countries that we see collaborating. Beyond the institutions, there's country ownership. And from the funder standpoint, we always look at that stability. You know, you're investing in a space that actually can not just benefit from the initial impact of the grant, but also take it, amplify it, and really give it a place where it can actually grow and nurture. That sustainability piece is the return on investment, the initial return on investment that you look at when you're making a grant, but also how is it going to continue to give in perpetuity. And those are the kind of things that can only be guaranteed in a space where you have, you know, country stability, safety, and the opportunity for development and growth. So for me, it's not necessarily, you know, and think Richard has said it best, and I've worked in two big philanthropies mentioned here, where the grant making without really proving the continuous impact of this and the ability to kind of self-generate its own sustainability or life attainment is really looked upon as something that is quite risky and you know, not really something that would be invested in. So for me, number one is really these organizations are successful because there is a platform in which they can grow. And you extract any IPD or CERI and you put them in an environment that does not, you know, cater to it and give it that stability and in-kind assistance from the government side, then you have nothing. It's just.
Thank you for that. Just one observation I made is that both CERI and also IPD have being led by people who have had an opportunity at Cambridge University outside the country. Oxford. Oh, it was Cambridge. I saw a picture of Cambridge. Was that Oxford? Okay, cool. Sorry for mistaking you. But in any case, I have had an opportunity to study abroad. I'm sure the Cambridge people would be very happy to hear that. I'm delighted. You're delighted. Thank you so much. Somebody's happy. So what I wanted to ask you then, just as a follow-up, is what role do international partnerships, for example, play in ensuring that African research can be competitive, you know, globally, and how do you see such a program, for example, partnering strategically so that we can have both the, you know, have our local sort of African input, but also have the global competitiveness that we would want to see as well?
Do you allow me to be a bit provocative?
Yes.
Okay, I like it. So, you know that ashes are very fertile. So you need to fail a lot, you need to destruct and reconstruct, you need to reassemble, recombine to have innovation. And if you look at the Silicon Valley, if you look at the MIT, if you look at all these very tiny but very powerful ecosystems, they have been failing for years before being able to just shine and bloom and provide. And my consideration about Africa is that we are just too young. We have not failed enough. We don't have enough ashes. So what we are now trying to do with this program is to create a distributed ecosystem. One leg will be in South Africa, another leg in Senegal, maybe another leg. Join not only forces, but ashes. We will join our failure, our expertise, our investment, our learnings along the road. And for me, this will be probably a very distinctive feature. We had a very interesting conversation, the four of us, about what makes this program unique. And we didn't land it the final response, but I think it has been really obsessing me during the night. And I think that this distributed ecosystem is something very unique. We will benefit of our own problems locally, our own pains, and also our own workforces. And this is, I think, game-changing.
Thank you so much for that. I just want to, so we've got a few minutes, but I want to give an opportunity to maybe two people from the floor to ask questions. So the first one, I will be a bit challenging. I saw on the program, one of the things we look at in terms of gender when we talk about capacity building is the age. that gap that we see. And we know that when we talk about youth, yes, we ideally want to have 35 years and younger. But how do you see that impacting the program in terms of, and I don't know who wants to take up that question, maybe on the panel or even on the flow. I see, Tulio, you are very excited about that part because we're building the next generation. But we know that the average PhDs are around, especially amongst women, they get the PhDs much later in life. So what is your view on that? Maybe can I ask the Mastercard Foundation? I want to ask Constance.
Yeah, I know the answer because we had strategic documents of the Mastercard Foundation.
Yes, but let her answer. Thank you.
I think it's on. Yeah, thank you very much for that question. So I remember when we were co-creating this program with the CERI partners, we did let them know. And at the Mastercard Foundation, our goal is actually to have 70% young women. So it's even higher. And if you heard when Prof. Tulio and Amadou were talking, they said 60% because it's a recognition. We know that we don't have enough young women with PhDs, or it's challenging, or sometimes, sometimes people have families and there's caregiving, and we have all of that going on. I continue? Okay. So part of what we're doing with this program. So like I said, in the foundation.
That's, you know.
Sorry, I made a mess.
Is it okay? No. Okay. I should go. Okay. So part of the reason why in this program we had a lower 60% was because of that recognition. And one of the things that our fellowship team is to really understand when people are applying, what is the proportion of women applying, and why are they applying at this moment? Actually understand the ecosystem and the opportunities there. Hopefully we can come up with better and allow them given that we do that with kind of our metric is specified.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's working now, Richard. Yeah.
Thank you, Ben. It was actually Xavier mentioned it. But one of the things you mentioned about the different communities and the ashes, etc. I was very fortunate to be in Senegal in December at your centenary, and then sat in on the Grand Challenge of Senegal. And what struck me is that the questions that were being asked were exactly the same questions that were being asked in South Africa Grand Challenges, exactly the same questions being asked in Grand Challenges Africa. And basically we were reinventing the wheel in different places and not sharing any of our experiences between the group. I think as funders, there's an opportunity to facilitate some of that cross-pollination, market growth, etc., because that's often the missing piece. So I wanted to echo your point. I think it's a very important issue that has been raised, and that is one powerful thing that Amadou mentioned earlier on, is just getting Senegalese researchers exposure to East Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and vice versa, whether it's market creation or learning from what mistake they made and how they overcame it, etc. Particularly in something like digital health, where there's a lot of people working on it. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I don't know if you can still hear me, but the colleagues are from the floor, and I have two questions only because of time. Then I'll ask the panelists to wind up. Do you have a question from the floor? You can raise your hand for the panelists. No questions? Oh, there's a hand going up. Yeah, so quickly say your name and then the question. The question should not take more than a minute.
Hi, my name is Dean Westberg. I don't know if you can hear me. Like, I don't know. Where?
Okay,
Yeah.
just speak louder.
Okay. Here?
Yes.
Yes. Hi. My name is Charlene Wensberg, and I am actually currently a master's student finishing up. And my question was, as somebody that might become a young entrepreneur in the science industry or health innovation, what would you recommend the next steps for me would be? I mean, obviously this fellowship would be amazing, but in general, would it be more towards knowledge and innovation or more towards business development? Yeah, so that would be my question.
Can I take the second question as well? Just for the panelists to remember the first question. No other question. Okay, can I have a response while people think about whether there's a question or not? Who wants to take up the yeah, from your side? Yes.
Now you're speaking my language. The first thing for you to do is to really reach out for all the support that you can get. There is plenty of support at this university. So there are programs available, boot camps, there's online tools, there's a plethora of things that will help you to take your idea and decide, is it a business? And then how do I develop this business? How do I get funding? How do I determine a business model? So we are excellent in our education system to create experts and in a very niche area. Require the skills base. You need experience and knowledge of marketing. You need skills in finance. So it's a very broad thing. And unfortunately, we are not yet there when we actually include all of these things to enrich a science degree, for example. So luckily, we have all of that covered for you. And I think there was mention of the Launch Lab, which is on this campus, a support system that's available for you.
Thank you so much for that. Any other questions? Oh, there's one more. Okay, cool. For being bred from the animal sciences here.
From a young.
Yeah, it's working there.
No.
Yeah.
I want to. It's more of a suggestion, I guess, than.
Excellent. I think thank you so much for reminding us about it. And so maybe because of time, I need to have more time. So thank you so much for that. I think it's
something which has to be considered as more intentional academics. What's happening with it? At least what is politics correct that to another role. And then I think with your comment now, that actually makes it reinforces the will to do more. So can I ask you maybe one question as we run out? Now it's your last word, and also it's rounding up because you were more right? I want to ask you if you could implement one major reform, what would that sense? And then if you think about your
I think I would build intentionally. So it's too easy to be dragged by the flow of education. So, you know, when you are reasonably well equipped with a good engine, you can do anything. You do bioinformatics, you do mathematics, you do whatever. And I am really missing intentionality. Why are you doing this? For me, it's very clear. I love money. Okay, let's make money. I want to change the world. I want to improve the health of people, but I am missing most of the time intentionality. And I think I don't know how to address this problem. Maybe I would need another minute, but I think it's missing.
Thank you so much for that. So let's take it now to you, Solomon, the intentionality and your closing remark on that.
As a closing remark, I think it's we have to look at the entire ecosystem, and I cringe when I hear a young mind saying, "I'm ready with my training. I'm ready to take on the world and really be an entrepreneur." Just what we did here is not guaranteeing success. There are other sectors out there, regulatory sectors, policies and things like that that need to be addressed in order to set this individual for success. So as we connect two dots, we should also really think about there's 100 more dots out there that needs to be connected. And it's encouraging to hear that there's a lot of resources and a lot of opportunities here, but we're just scratching the surface of this. And if we really are making these big, bold suggestions, including the mentorship, by the way, it's brilliant. When I retire, I want to go golfing. I don't want a mentee. I'm done. I have 3 kids, and I think I'll mentor those. But just as a joke. But it takes more than just this. This is an amazing opportunity, but it's just a step in the right direction. But many more additional steps, and many more other sectors need to be involved to guarantee the type of success we hope for the youth and the young African scientists to succeed.
Excellent. So it's connecting more dots as well on our side, and a lot more done. And then on your side, I just want you to also say something about, so we've had one question, one I suppose out of many. What would you advise, of course, young researchers and innovators on the continent about, creating lasting impact through the research or the work that they do? We know that innovations don't just come from research as well. We have undergraduate students, for example, who come up with ideas. So what would advice be on that? And maybe that's your closing remarks as well.
There are enough role models being created now. Engage with them. Decide what you want to do. Follow that. Believe you can do it. I think so many of us just don't believe we can do it. But with all the talent, all the opportunities on the African continent, we can do. I strongly believe that at universities that's the thing not working. So brilliant young minds at the university, and we can change Africa one company, one entrepreneur at a time, backed by excellent research ideas that we can bring to the market.
Before you hand over, I think there's also just one thing I want to pick up. And also running a big enterprise. Maybe you haven't shared in terms of the size of the innovation space that we'll use the university as an example. Because by partnering with Stellenbosch, it's not just Stellenbosch University. We have I just wanted to the size of the portfolio and the companies that we run. We've done research that shows that diversity.
Never.
So you can
one or two people. Yeah, very few people know it, but this university at this very moment has 35 from the research being done by our excellent researchers. So those companies employ more than 400 people because most of them are still in early stage, but they employ more than 400 people. They pay a healthy dividend to the university, which we sort of invest in the university in infrastructure, research, innovation. And if you take that 400 and you multiply it by 20, it's still modest, but we are growing every single year.
And yeah, we should give her a hand for that. But she's also tough on us to make sure this happens. But the thing is that it's been done. So we know that there's a prototype, and we are always, working with other universities as well who want to set up similar systems. So I think that's an important point to mention in the context of. And then Richard coming about funding, but of course, in your closing remarks, I really want you to also emphasize the importance of, how to, what the partnerships which also help to fund and they,
yeah, and I think the partnerships in Africa is particularly relevant. You go outside of Africa and you travel, most people outside of Africa think of Africa as one country, that we all have the same problems. And in the room, I don't need to tell everyone that that's not the case. So we all have different challenges. And another Mandela quote from earlier on, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that's very much something we want to be achieving in Africa. Africa is too big and complicated a continent to do things alone. Whether it's coming to scaling in technology, most economies are too small to sustain businesses. You need to work either regionally or cross-continentally. That is just a fact of life. Unless your business will always remain small unless you want to scale it. So if you want to make a land shift change, I think globally, think international, think regional if it's within Africa, and I think that is really the route to success. So I'm very optimistic about the next decade. It's really going to be African time, I feel. But I do think the mind shift has to change. We have to work together. We are 54 countries working together, and we need to be seen as that and working together. We're not isolated countries trying to do everything alone. So I'm really thrilled. Amadou, you're a great partner. You've always been. Solomon, this is your brainchild. This is a fantastic idea. And let's go out and really show the world that Africa can lead programs like this, and we can be the envy of the world and do this more and more and more.
That brings us to the end. It's 14:31, and we try to keep time because that also gives us a very hard time on being precise. So this brings this panel to the end. But again, to really, thank you for joining the official launch of the Africa Stars program, and then also to just remind each one that the change that you want to see, and actually think about also your environments, respective environments, wherever you are. It's always around. Has brings an opportunity. So I'd like to encourage you on that, and also to thank my panelists who've been really great. I think you should give them a bigger hand than you did, and to thank them for your time and your presence as well. Thank you.
Yes. And then I don't think Tulio needs another introduction. After this discussion, so enlightening, so exciting, so engaging. Thank you very much for facilitating this, and to all the panelists being involved in this and raising all these important points here. It's a wonderful segue to the next part of our session, where we open the floor again for our in-person and also our online, our virtual participants, to pose any questions about the program, or I guess to any of the content that you've heard here today from panelists or from any of the speakers. We have a couple of minutes. And I'll hand over to Prof. Tulio de Oliveira to facilitate the Q&A discussion for our in-person and online participants. Thanks,
Okay.
Tulio.
So thank you. Of course, my job is not to keep you here long. So this whole session I will only take 5 minutes because we're gonna have refreshments and we also have some great refreshments. We have great place to take photos. I know some of you are LinkedIn influencers, so please take a lot of photos, take a lot of take a lot of photos and make quite a big difference. Yeah. So what we want to finish here is just to launch officially the website. Yeah. And the program. And what we're gonna do on that, yeah, and just put hi. We're just gonna show you a very short video, yeah, that only take 3 minutes, but that will answer a lot of the questions. And we also, what we will show, it will also show where the fellows are gonna be trained, yeah, just to you to get idea of the reality that we are presenting here. What we will do, we will take then questions online. So anyone that have a question online can put that, and we're gonna answer direct to you. But we think that the website and the short video will answer that. So yeah, Mambele, can you just start the thing again? Yeah, and then so you can do, yeah. Just go back and sound. You put the sound in. Yeah. So that's a short a program that we did. The sound will come now, but it has subtitles. Yeah. So, goodness. Yeah. Okay. Hmm? Yeah. Just 1 second. We have these lovely IT people that take half an hour to arrive, but he will put here. Yes. Okay.
Just unmute your laptop.
Hmm?
No, just unmute your laptop.
Okay. So do that, please. Start.
Yeah.
Then we to develop the next generation of Africa scientific leaders. Thank you. So the African Staff Fellowship Program, a program that we put together with two very strong partners, the MasterCard Foundation, which the main objective is to generate employment and high-level employment in Africa, and with the Institute Pasteur in Dakar, which is the long-lasting institute on the Pasteur network in Africa that have been creating vaccines and doing very advanced science for over 100 years. So this program aimed to develop the next generation of Africa scientific leaders. Here we are talking about young scientists that's going to receive very advanced training on how to respond to epidemics, but also how to build diagnostic systems, therapeutics, and all the way to a master of business administration, how you can run a big program or a big company or a big research institute. So we have a great ambition that is to make Africa, and especially African scientific leaders, to transform the continent so Africa can fight their own epidemics and can treat their own population. Why we created this fellowship program? Yeah. So this fellowship program is built on decades of experience of both we in South Africa and the Pasteur Institute in Africa on generating some of the biggest scientific leaders in the country. But we think that now is the time, the right time, that to move then from just doing science to producing vaccines, diagnostics, and therapeutics. Yeah. So that's the main reason why we build that. And this program is building in also decades of investment And many people may not know, but Africa has some of the best labs facilities in the world. Now, how can we use these laboratories to not only study virus and bacteria, but how can we use them to get the solution to problems such as drug resistance in malaria or HIV vaccines or tuberculosis treatment? So how can we use all this big experience to now capacitate people to not be followers, but to lead not only the African continent, but the whole world on fighting these diseases that have been for centuries in Africa? Oh, so with the video, yeah, and now with our website, which you can access in many ways. Yeah, you have QR code in your program. You can take a photo, or the website's called starfellows.africa, which we code. You can get information all about the fellowship. Yeah, it's a very comprehensive website that will present information about the program, about the programs, yeah, about the 4 different fellowship programs, how to apply, when to apply, and so on. Yeah. So that's just to really finish in a way. We thought that would be very wise to also, as present here, give all the information. So here you're going to be able to find all the information about the program, how to apply, but also our partners. Yeah. And just to thank the partners. Yeah. Which is going to grow over time. Yeah. So I have to thank a few people, Professor Madusal, also Dr. Cheryl Baxter. Where is she? She's there. You may not know, but in the end, someone has to write all the great proposal. And I assume that was very good, not Constantia. So thanks, Cheryl. And also Richard Gordon, which have really been crucial to put together with us and Solomon the program. Yeah. And also the people that really do the work, like Zeto, Moisi, Mambele, they all here. Thank you so much, guys. Not only it's very nice for me and Solomon and Amadou to be the shine stars, but someone has to do the work, yeah. And your work is really valued. And especially also to our partners, yeah. We have a growing number of partners. So this program is grounded within CERI, Stellenbosch University, the Institute Pasteur, with the generous funding from the MasterCard Foundation, but also in very close collaboration with the Africa CDC and the World Health Organization. We had to discuss with them so they could approve the program, and they are fully behind. And growing number of other partners, yeah, such as the Launch Lab. We have Anita here, and already many big industry like Abbott, Thermo Fisher Scientific, Roche, and Incaba already being partners. And we're going to grow that. So that's Richard George.